Hello traders, welcome back to AkhenatenFX. For those new to the channel, thank you for subscribing. Just to give a little bit of background, I generally release 3 different styles of content on my channel. I do weekly outlooks and recaps, sometimes in the same video, other times in separate videos, primarily focusing on the Euro-USD pair and NASDAQ. Those are my primary pairs. I also do watch GBP USD and SPX just for further confluence, but I generally look to take trades in Euro USD and NASDAQ, and therefore that's where the majority of my analysis is based. I also do DXY analysis and just use that to frame where I think the dollar is at with respect to strength or weakness, and that is used as a framework to plan my trades in pairs based off the dollar, essentially Euro USD. Besides that, I do psychological conditioning and risk management approach videos. For me, I've been a relatively good technical analyst for a while, for a couple of years, but I had not bridged that gap to sustainable profitability. And what really changed the tides was taking my risk management and psychological approach seriously. Winning and losing in the market tends to do things to us in our minds, things that we tend to not want to admit to ourselves. And it does take a lot of work to engage with the markets day in, day out, and maintain the level of psychological fortitude to make the right decisions and to sometimes choose to stay out. Besides that, I also will do educational content on ICT concepts. I generally try to explain these in a more intuitive way, in the ways that I've understood them, so that hopefully they become less like an equation and more like something that you truly understand and that you can see in the markets. So in this video, we will be doing a recap on Euro USD for the trading week, which began on Monday the 27th and ended on Friday the 3rd of March. I'm just going to go over here to the idea I put out. I put this out on the 26th. This is a 30-minute chart. As you can see, last week there was essentially no buying. Price opened here, closed there. Now that's pretty rare. I was expecting price to do some level of retracing because this, in my opinion, is buy side inefficient. Price really only offered one side. I can expect that it's going to at some point want to offer the market buy side. Going to a little more detail, we are in a daily order block, so I was expecting mitigations away. I had thought this 12-hour fair value gap was interesting. Initially expected price to hit it and then want to chase buy side below this, and then after capturing that, continue up. Now hitting the play button, price was indeed magnetized to that fair value gap. As you can see, it began to chase sell side. However, it turned around and hit chased buy side one more time. This actually leads me to think that there's a pretty high probability we're going to see price move forward into some of these other inefficiencies before potentially coming back down. However, we are getting a little ahead of ourselves there. So let's just go back to the chart and look at this in a little more detail. So I'm going to go down to the 5-minute. And what I'm going to do here, ICT calls it tape reading. I guess tape reading is more live. You can call this back testing, but essentially I just like to look through the price action that occurred during the week and interpret it using these concepts so that my mind is more trained to recognize these when they're happening live. A little explanation of what's going on in my chart. This blue box here represents Asian session. This white box is London session. New York does not have a box, but essentially everything between a white box to a blue box is New York session. These are news events. You can actually turn them on TradingView. If I can remember how to do that. If you go to chart settings and you go to events, you can toggle these on and off, and you can toggle the lines on and off. News event is always going to be relevant to how price moves. That's generally where a lot of the expansion is going to occur. So this is Monday's trading, New York session. As you can see, it opened here. News pretty much just sent it up, and there was nothing much in the rest of the day. Here on Tuesday, price traded into the daily fair value gap during New York session. I actually took a short here, and I believe I closed it somewhere down here below London's low. Again, there's liquidity on both sides of this. So New York took the high here and then took the low here. Now, I was actually looking to take further shorts to these lows, but as you can see, price reversed during Asia and just spent the rest of London climbing. It did push into this daily order block, which is a higher time frame PD array. So I was looking for shorts during New York. Now there's a 15-minute fair value gap here. This is what I wanted to sell from. I actually ended up being a little impatient, and I believe I entered early. However, price did come to this 15-minute fair value gap. I did want to see an immediate melt. That did not occur until Asia session over here. And I ended up closing out that trade here below London's low. Nothing really interesting happened on the rest of Thursday. I did not take any new trades besides just closing out my existing trade. And here on Friday, I saw that on Thursday, price broke structure up here. I also saw that price had not really traded below its daily open. So on Friday, in my mind, I was looking to see price trade and dip below the daily open, at which point I would be a buyer. And I was aiming up here, at least to this daily open. But as the week started to close out, as the day started to close out, it did not look like we were going to get that. And so I closed my positions manually at these levels. So I hope that was helpful and educational. I will look to do more of these with more frequency. I am going to try to put out an outlook video for next week for EURUSD, so please stay tuned for that. I'm also open to feedback. This channel is relatively new. I want to put out content that is helpful. So if I'm going too fast, or if there are certain concepts that you have a hard time grasping and you want a little more explanation on, I can do my best to help with that. So just leave a comment and I will do my best to put out content that addresses that. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Safe trading.